I work in media, as you know. And so before we met because I was working on a show called Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers on Hot 97, right? Shout out. So I was actually producing that show. Then I kind of switched gears a little bit. So I got back into what I used to do before, which was script television.
Nice.
Yeah, it's super dope. The thing is, the shows I work on, I try to make sure I don't watch them.
Why?
It's weird. I don't know. It's like, okay, say if you work at, I don't know. Say if you work at like Starbucks or something, right? Would you still want to come in and get like a Starbucks coffee and be reminded of your job all the time?
Absolutely.
I think it's more so along the lines of like an artist like kind of cringing at the thought of like hearing their own voice.
I don't want to
kind
make
of
coffee
thing.
and drink.
Maybe, yeah. I
right?
think it's that. It's kind of like, I've been there, working there for how many hours a day? It's kind of like, and then I'm going to turn the TV on and watch the show I was just working on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So I always like to kind of leave that out. So if I work on it, I don't see it.
Yeah.
But but prior to that, after I worked on the Hot 97 show producing that. After that, I worked on She's Gotta Have It for a little bit, the Netflix joint with Spike Lee.
Yeah.
So I worked on that. That was dope. It was cool. I met some amazing people. And then right after that, I literally went around the corner and worked on FBI.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
how did you get into media? Like what made you go into it?
My story is weird, man. Like, you guys are already kind of know it because we talked about it. But, like, I always loved media. Like, I always, like, was that kid that was like, ooh, like, watching TV and wanted to know, like, what happened behind the scenes and how I could play a part of that. So I kind of, when I went to college, I kind of wanted to see if there was anything else that I could do. Because I was into theater. I was, like, performed on like off-Broadway shows for like years, you know what I mean? I went to performing arts high school, so I knew that that's what I was good at.
Yeah.
So when I went to college, I was like, is there anything else that I can do? So I went to school, went to the Lincoln University, which is the first HBCU. Shout out, okay?
Shout out to Lincoln.
Let people know, because it's not Howard. Anyway, so when I went there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a bio major because I'm so interested in that. So I'm like, bio is what I'm going to do. I want to cut open bodies. I want to tell people like the cause of death.
Wow.
Then I cut my finger, started bleeding. I almost passed out. I said, maybe this isn't it, right?
Give me the camera.
No, that's a lot.
Okay.
That does sound like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so after that, I was like, you know what? But it took me 3 years to figure that out.
Wow.
So in the second semester of my junior year, I switched it completely and went to Mass Comm and graduated the following year. So when I did that, I was like playing catch up for sure.
You just like jumped out the window. You had
Right.
no fear, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Honestly,
Right.
I don't think I think much when it comes to stuff like that. It's like whatever I want to do, I'm like, that's it.
And that ties into the conversation we had last week about our generation just jumping into things. Like, how does it make me feel? You know, like not really like following I went to school for 3 years already. I might as well just stick through with it. It's like I'm not comfortable. You know, so I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Is that what you kind of like went through? Like you just said, you know what? I'm not cutting my finger anymore. I definitely want to just go into media.
Well, this is the thing. I feel like if you're going to spend mad money on a degree, I might as well be doing something that I know I'm going to want to do and something that I know I love to do. There's so many people that have degrees where they're not even in their fields and they're doing completely different things. You know what I mean? Or can't get into their fields because they weren't fully equipped while they were in school. So I didn't want to be one of those people that's like graduating and I'm like, okay, so I got a bio degree, but I'm definitely not going to use this.
Nah, you're absolutely right.
And that was definitely a fail of mine. That's why I like took time off first to figure out what I want to do. A lot of internships. Now I kind of know. Yeah, now I kind of know what I want to do. So now going back to school, I know what I want to major in. You know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, and I mean, that's awesome that you were able to do that because a lot of times people stay stuck in their consideration.
Right.
I already spent this money on this aspect.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 2 years. I gotta wait for something miraculous to happen.
No.
And then it's just like they let another 2 years go by. So like shout outs to you for like having that
Thank
strength to
you.
do that, man.
Honestly, you have to bet on yourself every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like sometimes you have to look at yourself as an investment. Yeah, I put money into this. It failed. All right, next. You know what I mean? I have to move on and do different things. And that's kind of how I looked at this. Like school was an investment for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I was just like, I'm gonna change. It's like the second semester of my junior year. Nobody does that. But I'm gonna change, switch it up, and see what happens. And it was intimidating being in these mass comm classes with people that's been in this, in this major for like years.
Yeah.
And they're talking about their connections. They're like, oh, everybody knows somebody at BET. And I'm like, ooh, not me. Like, I don't have zero. Like, I have zero connections right now. You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, like every speaker that comes in to speak at Lincoln, like I'm going to make sure I get a contact. Like Jeff Johnson was like the first contact that I got.
Shout out to Jeff.
Right. The host of Man Cave and stuff like that. So as soon as I seen him, I approached him and I started like working on like his radio show. I like went to DC. I met with him, like told him what I wanted to do. And then I kind of like kept in touch with him a little bit after that with certain decisions that I was making.
While you were still in school, doing all this while you were still in school.
Right. Then I knew I needed internships, right? So I'm like, 3 years already gone by, nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I did 3 internships at one time. So I played the system a little bit. So I act like, graduation day came, I walked across the stage like everybody. I was like, you know what? I got my degree, but I didn't. I was missing 1 credit.
Yeah.
So the 1 credit was an internship credit. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to use the heck out of this 1 credit right now. And I'm just going to load up this 1 credit with 3 internships. So that's what I did.
What were the internships?
I interned at Wendy Williams, BET, and Fox 5.
You did all 3 all at once.
All at once.
What was that experience like?
I was losing my mind.
What was your experience at Fox? Because I've interned at Fox as well.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, see.
Wait. First I have a question for both of you.
Yeah.
What Fox are you talking? Like, is this?
Thank you for the clarification because there is a difference, okay?
We need to know that.
So there's local news Fox, right? More liberal, right? With the point of views and everything. It's not Fox News.
Gotcha.
Different thing. I don't think I would work at Fox News. I cannot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's more liberal. It's local. It's, covering like what's happening in New York, like that sort of thing.
Got you.
Yeah.
And you worked at the same Fox.
I believe so. I mean, I was so like stressed out, like suit and tie every day, and it just wasn't for me at all.
See, but that also depended on like what area you went into. Like I was more in the Good Day side. So when I was interning first with Good Day, it was like I was coming in as I am right now. You know what I mean? Like jeans on, sneakers, you know what I mean? Doing that whole thing.
Yeah, my internship, we got to like visit those, but we had to like, we were like at a desk every day, making a newsletter.
You didn't get to touch the cameras and all that.
I mean, we actually, we have like, I'll show you, it's like a small like little like weather clip that we got to do like at the end of the program. But besides that, we were at a desk like every day.
Jesus Christ, I wouldn't want to do that internship.
Nah, at all.
Look at Melissa's faces.
No, I know what kind of person I am, and I'm not that person.
Right.
Yeah. So what was it like? So you did Fox, where you were able to kind of like be on the Good Day side. You said Wendy Williams, and what was the other one?
BET.
What'd you do for BET?
BET, I was doing more digital. So it was like I was writing articles under like news and politics and stuff like that, which was important to me and still is, which is why I chose to work on the Street Soldier show because that's what it's based off of. I like shows with like substance. Like I feel like, you know what I mean? Like this is a conversation worth having. If it's not, then I kind of don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Those are 3 beasts to like handle in one time.
Yeah.
Like, that's
the
a lot.
time I think was crazy for me.
Right.
Because Fox, I had to wake up at 2 a.m. to be there at 4 a.m.
Yep.
So I would stay there from 4 to 12. After that, I would rush over to BET, be at BET by 12:30, and stay there from 12:30 to 6.
Yo, you was moving.
Right. And then after that was when I had Wendy Williams 2 days out of that week. So it was like when I didn't have Fox and BET, I had Wendy.
Wow. Yeah. So do you think that, because you see so many young people, and I feel like they kind of struggle with going to get internships, what advice, because I mean to do 3 and then be in 3 major networks at one time, like what energy, like what did you do how did you get into that? Like how did you manage to land all 3?
3 beasts, like at that, right?
Yeah. What I did was, so Fox is walking distance, right, from where I live. So I actually was talking to my mom, and I was just like, yeah, like I'm trying to get an internship, X, Y, and Z. And my uncle used to work at Fox, so that like rung a bell. She was just like, oh, you should like go to Fox and like see what you can do or whatever. And I was like, okay, but my uncle didn't work there for long, so it wasn't like I knew somebody
you ain't
and I
that
had it
real
in.
inside connect.
Right. I wish I did. But so what happened was I ended up walking over there. I didn't even go on the internet. I'm like a person like I'm young, but I'm still like I'm kind of like an old soul, so I want something tangible. I want to fill out the application. You know what I mean?
Face to face.
Right. I want you to see me and know. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. I went there, and Fox like still had paper applications, and I was like, "Oh, good." You know what I mean? Like at first I was like, "What?" But then I was like, "Okay, you know what? Let me just fill this out."
Right.
And the doorman, because I couldn't get past the door.
You can't know. They're like their system is like crazy. Like you have to have a card while you're
everything.
intern. Like
you can't get past the door. So I'm like, all right. So I filled it out. I gave it to the security guy, whatever. And I was like, hey, here you go. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to give it to the person in HR. I was like, okay, cool. So later on, I heard from them. With Wendy, I actually applied for Wendy and didn't hear anything from them. So
Did you go to the radio station?
No, I didn't. I didn't go there. But I actually gave up. Right? I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm not going to apply again. I already applied once. Yeah. So then my boyfriend at the time, he was like, oh, but just do it again. Like, you never know. Yeah. And I was like, but I kind of already felt defeated. I'm like, well, I don't know. And he was like, just do it. So I said, you know what? Okay, so I'll fill it out again and see what happens, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. Yeah. So I had an interview with them shortly after that. And then with BET was the same thing. I applied online. They got back to me, had another interview. They knew that my very first internship was at Global Grind. So that helped me a lot when it came to like writing on the digital side.
Gotcha.
So they were super excited. And that first day, they were like showing me to everybody in the office. So I was like, I got
like the golden
this.
child.
Right. So I knew off back. I was like, all right, cool. Like I solidified this.
Right.
So
yeah. all of those things landed the position, kind of like being able to be the producer for Lisa Evers, where we met. And you guys kind of like do. Well, you were doing a lot of community events, which I thought was dope. Yeah. I always liked the Lisa Evers show. I liked the platform. Several events we kind of like worked together on, which was like really dope for the community. So like, what's next? Like, what are you doing and what's going on? Other than you doing this show, what's next for Melissa?
So what's next for me is kind of like, of course I love producing, but producing on a like kind of talk show and radio show in a sense is very different from producing a sitcom, right? So those are two different worlds. I can't go in and be like, dude, okay, I produced this. Like, can I get a producing job here? It's not going to happen that way. Yeah. So there are like different things that I'm trying to do at this point within working on this TV show and trying to make producing an endpoint as far as sitcoms. Gotcha. Right. So that's like taking it to another level for me.
Yeah, that's that level up because it is vastly different.
Yeah.
How did you get into moving in? I know that you wrote content for different platforms, but how did you get into like that's like script writing?
Yeah. Like what's that middle ground look like? Yeah.
Oh, so honestly, it's so weird. So this is kind of how it works because I just went to what school did I go to? I went to some school in Jersey where I spoke to like the mass comm students and like they asked the same thing where it was like, okay, how can I get into like scripted shows or how can I get into that area? Because they want to write to like a production company and send in their resume. They don't look at that. You know what I mean? Like, you know how many resumes are coming into production companies, and especially ones like Steiner, which is huge, Silver Cup, which is huge. It's like with those types of things, it's like that gets overlooked very quickly. And people think that when you work for a show that's on NBC or CBS or whatever, ABC, that you actually work for ABC and you don't. You're like a contractor in a sense. So everyone is pretty much freelance. So if y'all don't watch the show, we don't have jobs. So that means everybody's out of a job. The director is out of a job. The actors are out of a job. Everybody. You know what I mean? So everyone's like working to find that next gig.
And they pushing. They're pushing.
Everybody
want the show to win.
Right. So the way that you go about getting jobs in this type of industry is like, it's honestly, and I know it's so cliche for me to say this, but it's like making connections and networking and finding out what people are working on that trust you to do these projects. So it's like, I ended up like getting really cool with one of my professors at Lincoln. So when I got cool with one of my professors, her sister was into this whole thing. So her sister put me on an email server that they all have. So it's like every person that's hiring for these sitcoms, they have like this email of people they can reach out to just to like be a day player or, you know, someone that they could keep on until the season ends. Wow. So I got hit up one day, and it's the way it works is they contact you the day before they want you to come in. What? So you get the phone call like that night, and it's like, are you available tomorrow at this time? And you got to be available. I mean, if you want that job and you want to get into this and like continue networking, you got to be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to drop whatever it is I had to do tomorrow and I'm going to come and I'm going to do this.
Being respectful is so powerful, man. Like a lot of the relationships that I've built, like even the relationship here, like this has taken me so much further in my life just because I was respectful to my counselor in school. Like, can you imagine? You know what I'm saying? Like, just hearing that connection came from your professor. Just like, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I think that in life, and a lot of people, and I mean, you have it, right? You've been, I mean, from what you just told us briefly, you definitely operate in connecting, right? Like, it's less about the skill that you have, right? Like, because you know you got the skill, you got the gift to create, right? But you hone in on connection, and a lot of people
and hustle,
and that hustle, right? Like that's embedded inside of it. Inside of it is like really dope. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna go meet with you. We're gonna build this relationship, and
that self-confidence is just like amazing.
A lot of people don't have that. Like, you know, you talk to especially people who like kind of like went through college. You know, coming out of school and kind of like experiencing that. A lot of people leave out when they don't have the confidence. They don't have that confidence, or they've been told no once, and then they don't push themselves to go again. I think that's like really dope.
I think it's important to have like your follow-up game has to be strong. You know what I mean? Like you must always, you know what I'm saying, follow up, because with certain people I'm not gonna front and act like, you know, I was fearless throughout the whole thing. You know what I mean? There were definitely moments within my career where I was just like, dang, like, is this person going to ever contact me back? Like, but I had to understand that the way that, you know, some people a lot of people in the industry, they're super busy. So I would just be so dedicated to hitting up a person and I'll just be like, you know what? Hey, like, how are you? And in the emails, I'll make sure that I know like what they're doing and staying current on that as well. Because it's like being a student of the game and knowing what's going on in every aspect of your career.
Yeah, that's key. It's so funny you mentioned that because a friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but he's very prominent in the, you know, the education field, and, you know, he touches a lot of educators and, you know, impact them. And, you know, we're colleagues. We work together. We've worked together. He's done events with me before, but he's like super busy. Like he has a lot going on. And he actually like texted me the other night and was just like, yo, bro, I'm sorry, you know, I wasn't able to make this last event, but we'll get up. And I texted him back. I was like, don't worry about it. Like, we're just trying to keep you abreast of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, that's peace. Like, and that's important, right? Because it's bigger than just like the job that you do.
And that level of understanding, like
just stuff like that, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what do you think about media today? Like, because everything is just so fast. Me and Ty was talking about it earlier. Even with, you know, like podcasting and things like that. Like, you have to be very specific in the time frame or the amount of time that you spend, or people kind of like view things.
People's attention is just.
What do you like? Do you have like any, you know, input or, you know, ideas on that, or opinions rather?
I definitely think that media today in all aspects of it is very oversaturated, as we know. So when it comes to, there's pros and cons to it, right? So it's like you have creative liberty to like create whatever you want to, whenever you want to, using a simple iPhone or whatever it is that you're using just to, you know, put something out there so quickly, right? But the problem is that there's so much content. So it's like trying to go through it all and trying to filter it. It's like you and like, so like the both of you, for example, like if with this show, there's different ways that you have to now go about marketing certain things to make sure that you're going to make this go to the next level, right? So it's like also being like more cognizant of that too. So it's like, all right, like this is the space that I'm in. Now, what am I going to do? Of course, you hear the question, what makes this different? You know what I mean? And that whole thing. So that's something that I think is a little challenging because you're like, okay, I have this. Now, how am I going to display this and make sure that, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
we
I think
definitely
that's the
butt
hardest.
heads when it comes to that. Often. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we get better at it though.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're absolutely right though. It's just that oversaturation of the market when it's just at your fingertips. It literally makes the creativity a little bit more difficult to, I guess, put out there to the people because as soon as you get ready to do it, like literally 30 seconds later, either somebody already had it, they just posted it, or they posted it as soon as you post it. And what also happens is like you may have, or you may feel like you got a dope concept and you put it up and then somebody can like literally see it, take it, and then create whatever
That has
they
a
want.
bigger
Like
platform.
that has a bigger
Right.
platform.
That happens so many
Yeah,
times.
like I feel like infringement is just like the way of life right now.
But see, that's what also pushes, I feel like what's pushing content creators in another direction is like learning the business of everything, right? So now it's like, okay, like I'm great at creating content, that's cool.
Yeah.
But now it's like you have to be great at the business aspect of this as well if you're going to try and do this by yourself. So another thing would be like learning, okay, well, how can I protect this? Is there like a way that I can
Right.
protect this concept? Is there a way that I can protect the name? Is there a way that I can, you know what I'm saying? Like do different things like that.
I feel like the creativity is just like it's gonna make you stick out regardless.
Yeah.
Cause it's like even like in like the music videos today, like I feel like A$AP Rocky is like killing everything, and I could be
Yeah.
biased how I'm stand up, but like it's just like he's just like killing everything right now. Cause it's something that you've never seen before, and how many times have you heard that? Like this is
You're right.
something
You're
you've never
absolutely right.
seen, but this is really something like
Yeah.
we have never. So automatically, that is what's gonna make people stand out. Just being like authentic and being as creative as possible. You know what I'm saying?
And sticking
Yeah.
to that, right?
Right.
Like, just no
Right.
matter what happens, even if somebody like copies it. Shout outs to Sharifa. One thing, Sharifa Cujo, who does like all of the fashion trade shows. One of the things she told me was for every Sprite there's Pepsi, or for every Pepsi there's Sprite. So like no matter what, when you go to the bodega,
Yeah.
you open in that freezer, you may see a whole bunch of soda, but they're all $1 million, $1 billion companies.
Right.
Entities.
Right.
So it's like what people love.
That's
soda.
what makes
Right,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Variety in it is what makes I guess what gives these enterprises the ability to say, if there's a market for it, people want it, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make one too,
Yeah.
and just stick with what you
Right.
make. So
Right. I think it's like being dedicated, you know what I mean? And definitely sticking to what it is that you want to do or feel confident in enough in your project.
yeah, but what happens, because you did say something a little earlier when like things didn't work out for you, and for whatever that reason was, you stayed dedicated, you stayed committed. But what was that feeling like? What when things didn't work out?
You about to take me to another
Yeah,
place.
we got to
Yeah.
take you there. We got to take you there.
Yeah, I think my rock bottom, if that's what you're asking, right? My rock bottom for me was when I came back from China.
Oh yeah.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, so listen, I'm super impulsive, right? So I've been talking, so this is the thing. I like to be very honest with myself about like flaws and stuff. So I like, have these conversations and I'm like, yo, why do you do this stuff? So I'm like very impulsive. So sometimes it could work. And then sometimes it could be like, a girl, what are you doing?
Catastrophic.
What is your
Right.
sign?
I'm a Cancer. And I don't know if that's a Cancer trait though,
It's
because
not.
Nah,
Where'd you
because
get
I'm
that from?
a Libra, and I'm that's why I'm asking, because
Right.
it sounds like I'm listening to myself. Like I'm extremely impulsive.
Yeah, where'd you get that from? Most cancers are reserved.
To be,
Yeah.
I don't know where I got this
Yeah.
from, honestly. But so one day I had upped and left to go to China, mind you. I seen a post on Facebook, right? So my friend was like, oh, we're leaving, this city. We have to find people to fill our job. So I'm like, so after the internship, the 3 internships, right? I went and I got a job. I actually was employed with Fox. So I was employed by them for like it was only for 6 months, right? So I was like, all right, after that, I was like, I need a break. I am burnt out. So I didn't want to like work immediately after that. So I seen the post about China. So I was like, I got time. So it happened in that period, which was like a few weeks after I had left Fox. And I see the post. I'm like, girl, I'm telling her about it, whatever. My boyfriend at the time, like I signed us both up. I interviewed for the both of us. let him know, like, yo,
Coming to China with me.
we out to China. Quit your job. Let's go, right?
He was like, you crazy.
No, he was like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
What?
and he's a Cancer just like me, so I don't know where we got this.
Wow.
But yeah, so he was like, oh, okay, dope. Like, we out. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's a thing. I paid for both of our flights because I was serious. I paid for like the month that we had to stay there for free. I paid for like food and everything because I was so like determined. It didn't hit me until we actually got to our place in China, and I woke up at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like, do you know what we just did? I'm like, we're not on vacation.
Like,
we live here. We don't know the language. Like, all this stuff was popping up in my head.
Definitely, like, not making it easy for you.
Right. So I'm like, we made a mistake, right? So that's what I'm thinking at 4:00 in the morning. Mind you, we had just gotten there a few hours ago. And he's looking over at me like, are you serious? Because he's very optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And
well,
I'm the one
that you can tell.
Right, he's very optimistic. So I'm the one that's like, oh my God, I need a media job. How am I going to get a media job if I don't speak the language? Yeah. This was not the right thing to do. Wow. Why not think about this before we left, right? So eventually, I don't know how, like by the grace of God, everything started working out. Like where I was doing voiceover work, commercials, reporting, and then teaching and running an actual school there. So that ended up being fine, but when I came back was the issue.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you lose the contacts and things like that.
I didn't get a VPN before I was supposed to go there. So that means that all my contacts I had in my email was like non-existent because I couldn't access my email. You know what I mean? Like Gmail was not working over there.
Yeah, they had nothing. You can't access
nothing. So I was pissed. So when I got back, I'm like, all right, like basically it's like I graduated again. And I'm trying to re-enter this field that I already thought I solidified my spot in and starting all over again. So that year was hard. That was hard. I was applying to things. I wasn't hearing anything back from like anybody, you know? So it was like a difficult point in time for me. And so then I reached out to Lisa at Hot 97, and we had like briefly like met each other at Fox, so I knew her. I was working with her a little bit before I had went to China.
She had
right.
Understanding of who you were and the work that you did.
Exactly. So I ended up jumping back on that, which I was super grateful of. And then it was like stuff didn't start really kicking off until maybe like a few months after that, where I started finally hearing back, getting positions, getting calls, you know what I mean? It was tough because I was like, what the heck?
I feel like those periods are like the periods where we like humble ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Whew, boy, was it humbling.
And it's just
you
like
got no choice. It's just,
right.
To be a young, successful person, I feel like it's like we need to be humble to some degree. And it's like, what other time are we going to have to do that? We need, sometimes, I don't know if you believe in God. But
no, for sure.
Yeah, so he has to sit us down and humble us before we can give us what he gives us.
Right.
Definitely. You have to, and you have to go through those pitfalls to appreciate what you have, because like because I'm impulsive too. Like I got an idea, I'll run through a wall.
Okay.
I don't care. I'm gonna make it happen. But there are consequences with those things. And sometimes the consequences can help you like build what you want. But you definitely have to pay attention to them when you go through them. So you know, and if you don't appreciate what you had, like there was something in there that there was a disconnect. Like once you connected with this new idea, right, of going abroad, you took away what was. And we need not to do that. Like it's just like all of this stuff live with us. It should stay with us. It should follow us. So we should take care of it before we make any other move. Because it's something that we experience. So that's really dope. So I want to say that I shouldn't really get into this.
What?
But it's like really been burning in my chest because we're talking about media. But when you look at like artists of today, I'm not going to say the artist's name. I'm going to say artists. Here we go. He doesn't want me to do it, but I just need to know. Artists of today, with everything kind of like being streamlined and, you know, like the chaos and the craziness and, you know, utilizing the media platform as the way to architect, like, I guess these images that they portray, and then they get in trouble for them. Do you feel like, and I don't know how to phrase this question, but do you feel like mass media today or the media platforms today play a part in all of the the negative things that we see? Everybody got quiet.
Okay. No, see, because I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to so what I feel like the with the YouTubes, with the world stars, with the increase of social media, it promotes the negative content that we see. People, when you wake up in the morning, you looking at fights, you looking at violence. Do you think that the media today kind of agitates that?
I mean, to be honest, it's okay, it's not even on a social media level, I think. It's the news does that. You know what I'm saying? Where you're constantly seeing different things that's happening in the world, happening, with other countries, what's going on with our own country, or what's happening in our own backyard, right? So it's nothing new in that sense. What's happening is, yes, there are other places for media to live, but to be honest, it's there's all sorts of content. You know what I mean? It's your feed is kind of based upon who you follow and what they're looking at, right?
Yes.
So if you go on to your search on your Instagram, right, and you see all this stuff, it's because of the people that you follow are viewing this types of content. So that, if you're seeing that on an everyday basis, then you probably need to start checking the people that you follow.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I feel when it comes to parents, because a parent actually went into one of my comments and was going in one day, and I was well, I don't understand. So what happened was I had posted a video. It was Childish Gambino's video, and it was This Is America. So I posted that video. A parent commented and was hey, off of her child's Instagram, right? So that I was all the way mind blown. I was who am I talking to?
Yeah.
So she commented and she was just hey, this type of content, I don't like my child seeing X, Y, and Z. This is not something that I feel a child should be viewing or seeing on Instagram or whatever it is. And I said, listen, as a parent, it's your job to make sure that your child, one, understands this content. Two, do you yourself understand what's happening in this video? I don't think so, because of the way that you're responding to me. So one, you need to be educated so you can educate your child properly. So they're not walking around here just with these random thoughts of whatever it is, or talking to their friends that kind of don't know either what this video is actually explaining. So as a parent, that is your duty, that is your obligation to go in and find out more about whatever is happening. So you can then have that conversation with your child. As a person that is creating things or even posting things that I feel are important to post, it's my job to say what I think this content is. I'm responsible for how I feel about this, but I'm not responsible for how you feel about it.
No, definitely.
Hashtag girl bye.
Yeah.
Hashtag try again.
No, I definitely agree. But I think one of the things that I wanted the question, how you answered it, what I pulled out of you, was the education. People are not educated,
right?
And how to utilize social media, where they're not creating this craziness on their feeds and things like that. And we need that education,
right? And the thing is, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you want so if you want to talk about media in general, the positive aspect is everything is at our fingertips. The negative aspect is everything is at our fingertips. You know what I'm saying? So if we have access to all of this stuff, I'm just trying to figure out why you're not researching.
You're going to find what you're looking for.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You're going to make assumptions or opinions about whatever it is that you see. And that's cool.
You're going to find what you're looking for.
Right.
So if you look for crazy, you're going to get crazy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you following crazy, you're going to constantly see crazy.
Exactly.
Because I feel like it's balanced at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like the good and the bad is balanced at this point.
But to your point, if it's imbalanced, then you need to restructure your friends, the people that you're following on these platforms.
Yeah.
You need to restructure the hashtags that you're clicking on, because those things kind of follow you, and all those algorithms and all of that crazy stuff kind of put you in a position where that's the stuff that's going to be on your feed. So, yeah, man, this is good. So this is what we do before we close out. We call the show Call It What You Want. So we want you to think about the conversation and title this episode.
Ooh, okay. Let me think.
Yeah, Todd, you got one time.
Nah, I don't have it. Hashtag girl bar.
Okay.
Mine's is I guess I'll go with like hashtag media education.
Oh, I'm gonna go with hashtag real. Because I feel like we left it all out on the table to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the goal of this. It's just
Yeah.
to, like, free space and just
Yeah, definitely. And being able to kind of like learn something. I think that there's a lot of people, especially in this day and age, when you talk about media, there's a lot of people who want to enter that world, right? Like, and it's a very profitable space to be in.
Yeah.
But if we don't understand it, if we don't have great minds like you who've like literally taken the path to learn it and become experts in it, then, you know, we create, you know, spaces where young people abuse it or it doesn't work for them. Right? So we definitely need to, you know, have these conversations and really give space where like young people and people in general can, you know, have the tools that's necessary to educate themselves when it comes to media.
Yeah.
So shout outs to you, Melissa.
yeah,
Thank you.
definitely
Thank you
doing
for
great
being here.
things. Like real
Thanks.
talk. Yeah.
Alright. So she got B Cooper.
Tyrell Leroy.
Cool summer.
Yeah, cold summer Ty. You know what I'm saying?
Call it what you want podcast when we say what they can't. And we see y'all next time.